Let's talk about the opening promo. CM Punk saying that he was tired of being the nice guy. One nice little ingredient that I don't feel like I've seen said too much elsewhere. Did you notice that CM Punk took the AEW logo off the microphone before he started talking?
I did not notice. No, I did not see that.
I feel that really interesting. It's almost as if like he's not flying the flag for the company, he's flying it for himself. He actually came out and said that, you know, as you've said there with Temple Plays, like was bringing up there, like, tell me when I'm lying, with everything he was bringing up, trying to back up his facts, trying to almost be CM Punk. Obviously, he's so good on the microphone, whether it's brainwashing your audience or not. I mean, he has got a clever way of using his words.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Up until this week with the ESPN interview, this is the first time we've heard from CM Punk in 10 months. He has a lot to get off his chest because, and from what he was saying, he was backing it up. It's not like he was waffling and talking absolute rubbish. He was backing himself up on what he was delivering. And the fact that he walked out with that AEW championship as well, what they're going to do with that, I think that just adds more intrigue to it. I think is what, like, they've done. I'll tell you what, it was a really well done return. Surprisingly, how it could have gone if, for instance, this hadn't have been in Chicago and it had been somewhere that possibly would have booed him out. Like, if, for instance, it had been in North Carolina, it would have been, do you know what I mean? He would have got booed out the building. So it was very well played by AEW with this package.
Absolutely. They're going to be in Canada for the next few weeks for Collision as well. And of course, like you say, they're doing the North Carolina for Kenny Omega's entrance, but he is actually from Winnipeg as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out. I mean, the thing is with CM Punk, obviously, he went to make on a few comments there. He had to get a couple of digs in there. One of them was very clever. There's no way you've come up that with from thin air when he's mentioning the Young Bucks, obviously. He said that one of the TV executives, he was saying that some people are like kids. He is the true adult in the room. And if fans like him, then they are smart. They are the adults as well that love pro wrestling. It's about professional wrestling with CM Punk. And he said that this executive called him One Bill Phil. And he said that he is like the true entity in pro wrestling, unlike Counterfeit Bucks. For me, just an absolute killer line, getting a dig in without actually mentioning, because he's not meant to be mentioning the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega in any way. This was a clever outside of the way of doing it. And for those fans that were sitting there, like, he's pointing out signs as well with like the Pepsi film and stuff like that. He was saying about people, you can like me, you can cheer me, you can boo me, and you can hate me. I kind of don't care about it. Again, making reference to that sort of executive is the only one that matters. But at the same time, he said that if you need an apology, I will do. I'm sorry that the only people softer than you are the wrestlers that you like. I thought that was a very, again, killer line there. CM Punk knew when to get the digs in on this promo, put it that way. It was certainly, definitely very talk-worthy.
It was very MJF-esque. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like the two of them have been working together on their promo skills. Like, the amount of snide remarks that he would say, it just felt like we've been hearing for weeks with MJF. It was like, you know, you almost forget that it was Punk that was doing this before MJF. It was so good to watch. It was like I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I know he has a lot of stigma behind him, but at the end of the day, he is a massive draw. And I won't lie, I'm going to All In. I hope CM Punk's there. I've never seen CM Punk live. I've bought my ticket, and I would love to see him live. He still is an attraction. So it's just one of them things, unfortunately, man. Like, he can cut you as deep as he wants, but people still want to watch him.
Absolutely, he is a draw. There is no argument about it. Like, he's been there, and like he said, he's sold out Madison Square Garden. He's sold out like every big building in Chicago. He's been around the country and been around the world. Exactly. CM Punk is one of the biggest stars out there. And obviously, you know, you mentioned MJF a minute ago, and he made reference to MJF also, which then goes back down into storytelling, which was quite fun as well. The fact that obviously MJF claims to be in the greatest dog collar match of all time, and he said that it's one thing to be in the best one ever. I won the best dog collar match of all time. You alluded to the bag, which obviously wasn't Jake the Snake Roberts Snake in there. At the same time, the fact that the AEW World Title could be in there, and CM Punk saying, like, I this is mine really until someone can beat me for it. Like, this is when I get pinned or submitted, then, you know, someone can fill my boots. That's when I'll walk away. Interestingly enough, in that main event, and this is what goes to why this was such a good main event as well, obviously given a good 25 minutes, there was a point in that match where CM Punk was on the verge of losing, he was not getting out of the Coquina clutch from Samoa Joe. He was done for. If FTR didn't make the save, that match was finished. And they made reference to that on commentary at the end of the match as well. That Punk got the win, but he would have got the win had the save not been made. It almost makes me start to wonder. CM Punk saying, I'm not the nice guy anymore. He's taking the thing off the microphone at the start there. Almost feels a bit deluded, making reference to the executive, because he was the voice of the voiceless before. Now he's actually saying that, instead of the crowd doesn't matter, it's the executives that do. The fact he's saying as well, like, if he can be beaten, like, is it all in his head of what he's saying? This is a new character we're going to get, and that like, in a couple of weeks' time, this guy's going to be heel in Canada.
For me, I think it's just more egotistical than anything else. I mean, if we think back over the years in professional wrestling, what we know now about stuff that happened 20, 30 years ago with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Triple H, all the backstage stuff that used to happen that we never ever heard of. But we obviously hear it more now. We get a lot more exclusive interviews with these people, and we find out these stories. And I think it's just a case of, it's the same as what we've been doing for 40 years, for the last 40, 50 years with professional wrestling. It's just the fact that the fans are a bit more clued in. And I think this is like what makes it sort of hit hard for some people. Like, this is why people seem to hate Punk a bit more, is because they know what's happened backstage. Whereas if you'd had that kind of promo 30 years ago by Ric Flair, you'd have just been, oh, that's just an amazing promo with no context to it. But we have context now. And when it comes to the main event, I think it just makes people realize that although he still claims he's the best in the world, he's not unbeatable, especially when it's giving Joe something, because obviously he's the ROH champion. It's making Punk look human. He's not a god. He's not a god. He is a human man that claims to be the best in the world. And like he said, someone's got to beat him at some point to fill his boots and to take that title off of him. The title, that if that is what the title is, who knows? But it was so well done that you're just really intrigued by it, and you're captivated because you know so much more context to what is going on backstage than what you would have done if we'd been watching this 20, 30 years ago in the Attitude Era.
Absolutely fabulous points you make there. I mean, that's a great counter argument. The thing is, though, the egotistical feel could be a great way to do the character going forward if they wanted to do a heel CM Punk.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel we're going to get that, though, or do you feel that CM Punk will remain babyface?
I think he's just going to be tweener. I think there's just going to be people that hate him, and there's going to be genuinely people that love him. You're just going to have to pick a side, unfortunately. Phil's just going to be Phil. He's going to say something that you're going to love, and he's going to say it's the same. And some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. It just depends on what side of, do you know what I mean? What side of the road you drive on, I suppose. It's like you have to. One person's going to hate it, one person. I don't know, but like I said, if it draws me in to watch it, that's a win in my books. I can't really pick sides. If it's got my attention and it makes me want to sit there and go, do you know what? I need to watch that. Like, I want to see what happens. I want to see how the story evolves. I want to see how it plays out. I want to see what happens with this title that he never lost. I want to see who's going to be the one to beat Phil, to take his place. I want to see who's going to cut next in his next promo. Do you know what I mean? That's essentially what we watch wrestling for. So, do you know what I mean? He's doing nothing more than what I really want him to do, which is just entertain me.
Absolutely, and to be fair, I was going to ask which side of the fence are you on, and to be fair, you've already answered that question. I'm on the same side. I want talking points in wrestling. I like when I've got something to come and we come under these streams and go, goodness, CM Punk has said this, or CM Punk has wrestled this match. So much to dissect from this Collision debut. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to play out over the next few weeks and months. And like you say, there's been so many seeds planted that we've got a lot to get from CM Punk just from 1 week alone, and imagine where it's going to be going forward as we go towards, say, potentially All In, like you said, a show you're going to, perhaps All Out. Is that in Chicago again? We'll have to wait and see this year. Full Gear. I mean, I can imagine that the feud with MJF will happen at some point, the idea of champion versus champion. I can see MJF winning that match and doing a sort of Money in the Bank thing of 2011, going through the crowd, doing the kiss at CM Punk. Maybe it's a form of escape. Maybe it's like a steel cage match or something. I don't know. Maybe ways that they can get around it. But it'd be interesting to see how it will play out. But one thing's for sure, CM Punk is a big talking point, and obviously, wherever it is, fuel to a fire, because it will it will add some nervous moments to AEW as a fan moving forward. But at the same time, it's darn exciting to see how the ride's going to play out.
It is, and I think the biggest thing they have to try and work out now is they have to try and get Kenny versus Punk. Let's be honest, it's the match now that we all want to see because there's such a history to it now. Or even if we get the Elite versus CMFTR, do you know what I mean? Just something where we get Punk and Kenny in the same ring at the same time. It has to happen because it's almost going to be like one of them things like, well, we never got Sting versus Undertaker. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them what ifs, and it's like, I think Tony Khan's a bit more clued into sort of realizing, do you know what? This is a massive money maker. Look, let's be honest. He booked Wembley Stadium for his first UK pay-per-view. The guy is not afraid to take, do you know what I mean? Take risks. And I think if he can get it done, Punk versus Kenny has to happen.
I mean, to be fair, if they can make it happen, it would be easily the biggest match in AEW history. There would be no argument in that. That would be, I mean, I don't want to sort of overscale this a little bit because it's easy for people to laugh and say, I can't believe you compared it to that. But I always think back to WrestleMania 8 and thinking how they didn't book Hogan versus Flair, and it never happened in WWE. Then it happened in WCW, the first opportunity. Not even on their biggest show, they just put it straight away when they got it, and then they made it, and it was a massive draw. It kind of feels to me like this is the biggest match AEW could ever do. And to think that there could be a chance that both of these guys were in the company for plural years and it never happened just seems crazy. Obviously, Brawl Out as give the idea that it may never happen. But if they can get everyone on the same page, like I said, the singles match, the six-man tag team match, Hangman Adam Page as well being involved again. Look, I mean, sure, there's money on the table. And as CM Punk did say in this promo, it's about business. It is about business. Hey, I mean, the thing is, doesn't everyone want to see AEW do better?
And let's be honest, what is going to draw their biggest crowd ever? It's going to be that match. We've had Kenny versus Hangman. We've had Forbidden Door. We've had this kind of stuff. But the fact that again that there's all this backstage stuff now, there's all this arguments and fighting that broke out and stuff. That now that we're going to get to see these guys do a pro wrestling match. Is going to be exciting to see because it's going to be, I tell you what, it's going to be hard hitting and I want to see it happen.
Absolutely. Same indeed there. And as CNation goes on to say here, would love to see CM Punk and MJF finish their feud. CM Punk never lost the AEW World Championship and they are 1-1 with each other. Of course, MJF getting the first victory over CM Punk in Chicago. Of all places, it would be awesome to see them finish that feud off. Arguably one of the best feuds in AEW history as well. So there's a lot for CM Punk to do. A feud with Samoa Joe seems a lot of fun to see in the short term right now, especially after the way they played things out in Collision. Obviously, CM Punk versus Jay White would be a lot of fun at some point further down the line as well if they could do it. But let's go into the comments then. The entire CM Punk versus Elite is all a work, and we've all been worked. Do you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case because they're doing it quite well. Because the Young Bucks responded to CM Punk's comment as well with the Counterfeit Bucks thing. And they put on their Twitter bio saying that if this had been 2018 with Pro Wrestling Tees, the t-shirt would have already been out.
Do you know what it was? I was actually sitting down earlier and I was thinking about it and I was like, do you know what? When the AEW first started out, nothing ever got leaked from AEW. Nothing. Like, especially like when Brody was sick before he passed away. Like, nothing got leaked at all. And I sat there and thought to myself, what's changed for AEW like in the last 12 months, 18 months, where like we get all these leaks? It's exactly the same as WWE now. And you know, it does make it more plausible that it could all be just a great big bloody work and we're all idiots and we've all fallen for it. Who knows? But hey, I'd be quite happily the fool for falling for it.
Absolutely. For me, it just would make it all the more enjoyable if I've been worked at the end of it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.